Hi. I was just recorded a video with this weekly guidance and support message that I send out on my Facebook page and sometimes in my newsletter every week. And as I was reading the message, it occurred to me that I hadn't really taken the time to record a video about what led me to really capture or to start using oracle cards and that idea behind oracle cards, so sort of guidance from the universe. And so I wanted to take a moment to share that. So here goes. So as some of you who know me or don't know me, my background is that I am incredibly scientific, right? I'm a scientist by training, but I've always had this kind of spiritual side to me. I was raised in a very traditional Jewish family. And for a long time, we actually went to an Orthodox synagogue, a modern Orthodox synagogue in New York City. And so I really was sort of raised around this idea of there being a God, this sort of a higher power or energy, however you want to describe what God is for you. That was really my relationship with God when I was growing up, was this idea that that there was something else out there that was pulling the strings, right? So that if something bad happened and I couldn't explain the reason was because God wanted it to happen. It just sort of, I think for many people, this idea of God really helps to explain the unexplainable, and to believe that there's a reason behind things that seem absolutely unexplainable. And so I think, so I grew up really kind of having that connection to this belief that there was something bigger and that I was connected somehow. So regardless of whether you believe in God or believe in Judaism or the Jewish God, I was part of something bigger. Part of my ancestors and my ancestors' ancestors and my ancestors' ancestors' ancestors. And A.J. Jacobs writes about this in his book, The Great Family Experience. I can't remember the name of the book, but it's something like that. Oh, It's All Relative. It's called It's All Relative. And it was his big, it's an experiment that he did in trying to create the world's largest family reunion, because as he talked about, like, regardless of sort of what your religious beliefs are, there is this scientific evidence, right, that humans had to evolve or had to come from somewhere, and that there were originally two early humans, or a very, very, very small subset of early humans that populated the entire world that we have today. And so at some level, all humans go back to, that we're cousins somehow, that we all go back to these two first human ancestors. And I think despite the fact that that I didn't know A.J. Jacobs, or his, there is something, like, even as a young girl, I really remember feeling like there was this connection. And somehow over the years, I didn't really do much thinking about it or much analyzing of it. It was just something I believed and felt to be true. And as I got older, and bad things started happening that were unexplainable, and I was an adult and I wasn't practicing or as connected to my religion anymore, and I wasn't practicing regularly as a Jew, and going to synagogue and having a relationship with a rabbi. And so the big one being the first miscarriage that I had back in 2007, which I talk about on as sort of being the impetus for me starting this path. That experience for me really was something where I actually went to, or I found a miscarriage support group site, and I found that the women who were the most, sort of had the most faith in God, were the ones who sort of went through the grieving process in what seemed much healthier to me, because I knew I wasn't going through it healthily. Went through a grieving process that it seemed healthier, because they sort of had this understanding, this like belief, this true connection with like, I don't need to know why. I know that God has a plan. And I really wasn't there. And I'm not sure that I am still there, to be honest, but I saw them, and I saw that their connection and their faith really helped them through this grieving process. And so it really started inspiring me to start thinking about spirituality and connection in a different way. I felt isolated. I felt depressed. I felt like people didn't feel my pain the way that I was feeling it. And I was just grieving. I mean, we all grieve differently. And so even if somebody was feeling my pain, they weren't feeling it in the same way. And so that's sort of what led me towards doing acupuncture for the first time, towards doing yoga for the first time, and really seeing that despite all like my scientific brain and the sort of move away from religion, I still fundamentally believed in this connection, that we were part of something bigger, and that the baby that I had miscarried served a purpose, and that I could still be connected to that soul, to that energy, despite the fact that I couldn't tangibly hold that baby in my hands. So that's the background, and what sort of led me down this path, and sort of search for a spiritual connection, or coming to find a spiritual connection. So whether your spiritual connection is based in faith, whether your spiritual connection is based in religion, whether your spiritual connection is based on a practice of yoga and meditation, or whatever it is, whatever your spiritual connection is, maybe you don't feel like you have a spiritual connection, and that's totally fine too. I think for me, like I said, for me, the spiritual connection is about being connected to everything that's in this universe, not just myself, and my inner self, but also my family, not just my family, my community, not just my community, my country, not just my country, the world, and then to a larger extent, the universe and the universal energy that's there. And if you're a scientific skeptic, or if you just want like to explain this or to understand this on a scientific level, Neil deGrasse Tyson talks about this when he talks about like life needs energy, and how in order to grow, in order to live, and there's these atoms and molecules flying around the world, flying around the universe, in the cosmic background, and that energy is out there. And so there is a scientific, if you want, evidence that there is energy out there, which we don't understand, because we probably at this point on a scientific level understand only about 20% of that energy, according to Neil deGrasse Tyson. And so, so there is a scientific basis for all of this as well, if you need that. So that's just it. I wanted to share the story, and I hope you like it. I guess that's really what I have to say. That's what led me down this path. So if you have any questions, as always, just feel free to send me an email, drop me a comment. Just let me know what you think. Do you have a spiritual connection or believe in spiritual connections? What does that look like for you? I'd love to hear from you. All right. Have a great day. Bye.